Good morning, Barron fans, and welcome to this broadcast of Sports Talk at Ben Davis Ford in Auburn. I'm your host and voice of the DeKalb Barons, Joe Snyder, here on Barron TV, hosted by AES via YCN, your community network. This broadcast is made possible by the generosity of the following program sponsors: Auburn Essential Services, DeKalb Health, Feller and Clark Funeral Homes, Steel Dynamics Incorporated, Bowles Frozen Desserts, Smith Teas, Creedon Wealth Management, Gibson's Heating and Plumbing, First Class Towing, FC Tucker, Malcolm and Schluter Realtors, Kelly Southern State Farm, Albright's One Stop Grocery and Supermarket in Corona, The Sprinkling Can, Jamel Flooring, The Ben Davis Auto Group, Brown & Brown Insurance, Classic City Body and Paint, Smith Farms Manor, Nixon Homes, Joyce Hefty Koval Insurance Agency, The Salvation Army Stores of Auburn, Betts Nursing Home, Beacon Credit Union, Metal Technologies, Mefford, Weber, and Blythe Attorneys at Law, Nucor Building Systems, Vision Source, Indiana Physical Therapy, Auburn Dental Associates, Taylor Rental, Best Deal Auto Sales, Bernadette Salon, The Forget Me Not Boutique, Big Red Sports, Jeremiah's, DeKalb Chiropractic, and Drive Right Academy. And we're talking once again with head coach of the DeKalb Barons, Mr. Pete Kempf. And Coach Kempf, we ended up having an exciting game last night. Last night was the last night in regular season, of course, and we were on the road at Leo, and it was a tight game throughout the entire game. It was a wet game.
Yeah,
I tell you, I think I would have been feeling a little bit better if I'd been wearing my hip waders last night.
Yeah, it was great to finally play on turf, and what a beautiful field that was, and you're able to still get traction. The only thing that they're brand new, didn't drain as well as you think it would, which is interesting. But it was just exact conditions for both teams, but it was a beautiful facility and great field and great traction, and locker room facilities were great, and it was just it's one of those games that you look back and say that was just a great high school football game, as as ugly at times as it was, but those are the games you remember, and the sopping wet, balls everywhere, just obviously it came up the short end of the stick, but it was an old school physical ground and pound football game that you'd remember from the 80s and 90s, and between two really good teams.
And I think going into the game, because of the weather, everybody, they actually anticipated a little bit more of that ground game from both teams. Mm-hmm. And, you don't want to have as many turnovers. You know that turnovers are going to be the name of the game in an environment like that with those kind of weather conditions. Yep. And it didn't disappoint on that side. We were positive on some sides of it, and we had some of them that we coughed up as well.
In the end, we won with if you look at just the stat sheet, not the score, we ran more plays, we had more first downs, we had more yards, we had less turnovers. We also had, and so if you look at the stat sheet at the very basics, it's a game that looks like we should have won statistically.
Right. Well, and that was something that defensively we saw. Defensively, offensively, special teams
was lights out again last night.
It was, and that first quarter was really exciting. And hey, how cool was that when Evan Snyder came up, punted that ball, and we landed it out there on the one.
Oh, it was a beautiful punt. It was Coach Sam's 67 yards.
Yeah. Which was,
I'm going to guess it was number 2 all time for DeKalb High School. We looked it up. Brad Weber in 91 as a freshman had a 72-yard punt as a freshman against Norwell. So it was close, 5 yards away, but it was a great boot from young Mr. Snyder.
Well, and we ended up having some exciting moments as far as on offense. Not only some great runs from our core running backs, mm-hmm. but we also saw some great pass plays and some really exciting completions.
Yep, when you're going to beat good teams, you gotta make those catches, and we put ourselves in great offensively. I thought we put ourselves in great positions to. Defense and special teams put us in a great field position battle, particularly in the first half. And we moved the ball like we needed to, well enough, like we thought we would. Up and down we moved it, marched it pretty well. We converted on some big passing downs, which we haven't done in a while. But when we really needed it most, we just couldn't convert.
Well, and separate from that, as far as the conversion, we ended up having one moment where we thought we got into the end zone. It looked like it was a great play, and then got called back on the penalty. I know we've been focusing on that as a squad, and
it's part of the game.
It is.
It is part of the game, but when the game comes down to 2 penalties in the first quarter or 2 plays in the first quarter, you can go back and they called holding on Nick Waters. And they called the penalty on number 42.
Right.
But the problem was we don't have a 42 on the team in the field,
right.
And the 42, their defensive end, Elwood, who's unbelievable, best D lineman in the conference. He grabbed Waters as he was running by him, threw him down, and Waters didn't even have a hand on him. They called the holding on Waters. We go up 7-0 at that point. You got to overcome those things.
Right.
You got to overcome them, and it's not an excuse. Then obviously the inadvertent whistle when we recover a fumble.
Well, and that was another one that I had a tough time understanding because I didn't hear the whistle prior to the fumble call, and that ended up being a call on the field.
The back judge, it wasn't a loud whistle, but he blew it. You can see wave his arms above his head during the play, but
he's not in a position to actually call that if the ball's still live.
He was in the right position. He knew he was wrong. He apologized after the game. But when that's the difference in the game. We should have scored 21 points,
right?
28 points. I mean, we were in position to do so. Defense did their job. Special teams did their job, they planned and executed. But in a close game of good games, when it comes down to one call, that's tough.
It is.
It's tough.
It is.
But we don't execute well enough on offense as a team to. Right now, to overcome, the penalties and drop balls, and a lot of one-on-one missed blocks, and that's, we're watching the film back. It's gut wrenching, and Leo's a very good ball club. That's the best team we'll play. That's the best box team, like the D linemen, linebackers. Them and Angola are probably the two best teams that we played in the box. And we didn't have the team speed to match either. We're a lot faster than we've been as a ball club, but we're still not a fast team,
right?
If you will. We're big and strong, and that's shown a lot in the stat sheets. But we just we also relied on a lot of sophomores to make plays.
Right.
I think we played eight sophomores now regularly due to injury and different various reasons, and they played valiantly. But
yes,
again, when you rely on sophomores to win football games, you just kind of get those sophomore mistakes. It doesn't matter how talented or good they are. Even Tanner, who has been lights out all year, he went the wrong way. And
right.
What happens is, and when you're winning games and they're playing, they it's easy. It's easy when you're up big and you're rolling. But when you get in these tight games and you don't have those experiences yet, these experiences will pay huge dividends in the upcoming years for all of those young men that are, when you're in a big game against a good opponent.
Right.
And you get that against Leo. And I think when you see us, again, week 4 versus East Noble, and week 9 against Leo and East Noble are very similar skill-wise with the team, like Harshberger versus Wall. I think the D-lines are good on both sides. Offensive line, I think East Noble's got a little bit of an upper hand, but very similar teams, very similar, great players on both sides of the ball, and that's a 7-point game. And we beat ourselves last night as much as Leo won the game,
right?
And you're not going to take anything away from Leo because they did what they had to do to win the game, and it's tough to stomach.
Well, let's take a look last night. Obviously, with the weather conditions, we knew we were going to have a tight game. We were going to be on the road. 12th man has to go to the crowd that showed up last night for the Barons.
Absolutely.
My goodness.
We had a good showing, man.
Did.
We had just as many fans as they did.
We absolutely
did. Which is awesome.
And, of course, this week, one of the things that happened, we unfortunately were not able to broadcast last night due to the weather conditions, but I want to go ahead and officially recognize absolutely everybody that showed up there last night as the official super fan of the week, because, my goodness, to go out there in those conditions and hoop and holler and support the team, it was really exciting to be out there, part of the crowd, and see the great showing that we had from the community.
Yeah, and we actually had a question and talk about this, but Miss Hughes is listening right now. Asked us why the coaches were not allowed in the press box. We were absolutely allowed in the press box. That was nothing with Leo, but our headsets malfunctioned.
Okay.
So we before the game, you saw Coach Dixon, and Gaff monkeying down from the press box, running across the field, saying, "Hey, we got to get that." Before the game, we get out on the sideline. Our I don't know whether it's the press box or it was the rain, but our headsets malfunctioned, and then our end zone camera got wet, the little transmitter signal, so we lost both end zone and which is huge in a game when they put 9 in the box.
Absolutely.
And you're trying to make adjustments. So we had a lot to overcome. I was really proud of the coaches. They did a good job. Coach Dixon, Coach Sam, on the sideline. Headsets failed. I mean, they're reconditioned, they're nice, they get the job done. I mean, but for whatever reason at Leo, I mean, kind of that same problem when we were at Angola. I mean, like we just didn't. I don't know if they get. I don't know what happened. But we did what we did, and I was very proud of the coaching staff, top to bottom, with Coach Gaff and Coach Wilcox on the defensive side of the ball, working together on Friday night and communicating, and it changes that whole communication dynamic, and it's good and bad, and also changes the dynamic for the kids in the sideline, and we just and we did a good job, like when Carter Miller burst like. He strained his hip flexor a little bit, and hopefully not too serious, but he's our signal caller. And then we're having problems getting the signals in the rain for whatever reason. We adjusted really well, started, barking formation and motions, and Coach Sam would signal, which is not ideal. But we had a lot of things go wrong last night that were just kind of out of our control.
Right.
But that's just part of the game.
Right.
And you got to overcome. And, I thought for the most part, we absolutely overcame so much adversity from, the inadvertent whistles to headsets going out to just no, the laminator
Right.
before the game at dinner jammed up. So here we are at 3:00, laminating some call sheets, just kind of finalizing, and the laminator's just toasted.
Yeah.
So but we all got it all done. Mrs. Kemp was a huge help. She was ready to take everything. She came in and fixed the laminator and was ready to take our call sheets and wristbands to Bassett's office supply, bring it down, and we were such a great support system from everything. And if it could go wrong, last night it kind of went wrong from technology and what we had to do to prepare standpoint. But you know what? It doesn't matter. You still got to overcome.
Well, let's take a look at this game last night. Now, obviously, the weather conditions separate from that. We knew we were going to go into a very difficult arena at Leo during conference play to finish out the season.
Yes.
How well does this set us up? Obviously, we had the draw, and on the draw, we've got sectionals coming up this Friday. And that's going to be at DeKalb. We're going to be at home.
First time in 5 years, man.
5 years, that's right. And we're going to be up against the East Noble Knights. So how well does that get us ready for what we have to do as far as execution, knowing we're going to have to play a tough competitor, and going in and playing that pound and ground game?
For us against East Noble, I think we know each other very intimately already.
Right.
We see each other off and on through film. I mean, we each have probably 5 or 6 games on each other. I mean, there's going to be no secrets, no surprises. They've kind of emerged with a, between Bailey Parker, who good quarterback. They got he does a great job throwing to Hayden Jones, who's an unbelievable wide receiver. But where Bailey seems to improve is on the ground game, running the read option and stuff like that, quarterback sweeps, power reads, and stuff like that. And then obviously you have Harshberger, who is probably one of the 2 best running backs in the conference, 2 or 3 best running backs in the conference. Hugely explosive. Do a lot of good things with him out of the backfield and running bubbles. And you got to kind of know where they are. And then Christian Jarrett, who's the O-line coach there, is just I'm lucky enough to consider him a friend, but he is an unbelievable offensive line coach, and he does a great job with that group year in, year out, and they always seem to tend to overachieve.
Right.
I believe he's the number one reason for it. And they have some good offensive and defensive linemen, and Coach Hannon's done a great job with that defense. And they're not fancy on defense, but they get the job done. And they got a really good middle linebacker and some decent defensive end. And it's been a long time since we've given East Noble a big physical game. And it's time.
Well, and it's kind of interesting because, let's take a look at where we were 6 weeks ago when last we faced them compared to where we are now, getting ready to face them. It seems like we've got a totally different team. Since then, we've gone 4-1.
Yeah, we've cut out the cancers, and then we kind of move forward. And that's hard when you lose good ball players and that don't want to buy into what we're doing as a program. But in the end, it's what's good for us. It shows us what we do as a team. We're not going to tolerate certain behavior. Some other programs do tolerate that stuff, but we're not going to. I'd much rather be 0-10 with a group that I thoroughly enjoy being around than 10-0 and putting winning above all else.
Right.
Obviously we're here to win ball games, and at some point it's high school. If you have to win ball games, and that's because to keep your job, it's what you have to do.
Right.
But some things just aren't worth it. And you see these guys sitting next to me. I love being around them, and they've made coaching fun. And it's been there's no secret that we've been through one hell of a past 4 years. Building that momentum out of 2014-15, and then having a major setback, taking a year and a half to rebuild what we had already accomplished, and then coming back now. And what we're doing now is the most difficult thing in any sport, and that is learning how to win. And I do believe last night's a game we win, not handily, but it's a game we win if we have learned how to win against good teams, and we haven't yet.
Well, and let's take a look. As you mentioned, you've got these fine young men with us, and
Absolutely.
great guests for our show today. And of course, we're having a reappearance of Mr. Lucas Roller. But
Yep.
if you could just take a moment to introduce some of the folks that we have here on the show, let us know a little bit about from your aspect.
So, like I said, these guys, we gave the boys a day off on Saturday. We had a bunch of guys go in and some watch film, and these three guys just were the last ones to leave. So, as we're walking out, I said, "Congratulations, gentlemen! You are now on the radio show." So we got three defensive guys and Coach Sam. Oh, Coach Wilcox decided to show up. So you know what? What I'm going to do is let's talk to these guys. I'll let Coach Willie take my seat.
Okay.
And we'll get ready to go.
Well, that sounds real good. Well, we'll go ahead and we'll start with number 24, senior on the squad, Lucas Rockin' and Roller. And you were rockin' and roller last night. Boy, I tell you what, that was an exciting game. You've seen an awful lot of these matchups throughout your career as a senior up against Leo. What can you tell us about that environment and some of your experiences having to face Leo during the regular season, and what that's like for you?
This year, compared to the years before, I feel like we were more prepared and we weren't scared of Leo. I feel like every year we've gone against Leo, we've had this thing in the back of our mind that Leo is better than us. They're gonna beat us. It's just like a thing that happens every year. And this year, I feel we came into it with more of an attitude of we're going to win this game, and if we don't, we're going to play our hearts out, and they're going to know that we're the new DeKalb team this year. And it's just been a better overall environment. That's been the entire season like that. We just come into knowing how much better we've been prepared and how much we believe in ourselves this year. And it's just been an overall incredible environment this season.
Well, let's take a look at the growth of the squad over the last 4 years, even against a team like this in Leo. Mm-hmm. This has got to be the best showing that you can recall in your career here at DeKalb against that squad.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Earlier this year, we played East Noble, one of the better teams, and we didn't show up, but that was just a fluke, and it happens. Leo, I think we came out prepared, and we felt so much better. And we're just ready for sectionals next week against East Noble at home, and they better watch out because it's going to be a good game.
Absolutely. Well, last night it was a wet game. It was incredibly cold out there. It was tough to play.
Yeah.
D-line. Wow. There was some incredible moments. Can you tell us about some of the great moments you had? I mean, at certain times, I saw a few Leo Lions that got twisted around like a pretzel, and that was something you end up having basically group tackles that were going on. You end up having some nice sacks on the night. What were some of the big key moments that you can recall from last night's performance?
Well, at one point I was full out wrestling a kid on the ground, so that was fun.
It prepared you for winter sports coming up.
Yeah. But it was a fun game at D-line. I think we contained their run more than any other team in the NE8 that's gone against them. Leo's been a huge running team this year, and when you see the stats on every other team that they've faced, Leo has a crap ton of rushing yards on everybody. And last night, I think when we stopped their run, I think they got scared because they didn't know what they were going to do. And since it was so wet, they didn't have any passing to go to. Our DBs did great coverage even when it was wet. We had a bunch of picks last night, and it was amazing. Yeah. The wet conditions, it might have been bad for them, but I think it was a positive for our team because we played in those wet conditions. I mean, heck, practice Friday was all muddy and messy. It was fun, or Thursday. And I think we were just ready for the conditions. We knew they were going to be like that, and I don't think Leo, with their new field, knew that it was going to happen like that. Their field, it was a good field, but my shoes were ponds last night.
That's right.
I was running around, and I felt like I had two cinder blocks on my feet. But it was a good game, and I think all around it was just a good game for the defensive line. I think the DBs did really well. and it really does show you how good of a defense we've become this year. And it just plays into a role of good offense, good defense. It'll be a great team.
Well, I think this morning, if we were to talk to Restivo and Wall, they would probably say, hey, DeKalb might be the hardest hitting team that we've faced so far this season. One of the things that was really interesting is as you sit back and watch this game and watch it develop, the D-line's bringing the pressure and bringing the pressure, and it started from the first quarter and it never let up throughout the entire game. And we had a lot of stops, a lot of hits that ended up happening in last night's game, and that led to those turnovers that you mentioned. Where were some of those picks that you saw on the D-line? What were some of the ones that stuck out from last night's game?
Well, at some points, I'd be back there, he'd throw it, turn around, see Kyle catch it, and I'd be like, oh, crap, I got a block. There was one point where I kept pushing the kid over 3 times in a row, and he just got mad. But seeing all of those picks that we had last night, we have a goal at the end of the season to get a certain amount of picks, and I think last night was a huge step towards that goal, and we're better on track than we were at the beginning of the season. As we've gone on, I think that our DBs have learned that it's not just about getting picks, but it's about being on your guy. And I think that's gone into more of getting those picks, being on that guy more. But I think our defense has done an all-around better job at doing that, just being prepared and being ready for those teams. Yeah, it's just good defense this year.
It really is, and that's a big shout-out that we have on the program from Betty Sue Hughes as well. Great defense, boys, their comment from last night, and that's something that I can only echo those comments as well. And, hey, you guys spent a lot of time in preparation before this week, and throughout this year, you guys have really been focusing on your game. What's been the biggest focus of D-line that you're working on recently and getting ready for sectionals?
Well, defensive line, just kind of be the misfits we are and just keep the pressure on the quarterback. We learned early in the season that we have to stay shallow, and that's the big thing against running defenses. They want to pitch that option, and it's hard to defend against that if you have a bunch of ends going upfield. And that's always been the big thing because they always leave the end. I mean, if you're going to leave the end, might as well do our job and just get the tackle.
That's right.
So the big thing I think is like that we've learned to do this year is become more technically sound and be better than all of the defensive ends or defense that we've had, defensive line that we faced. Because all of the defenses that we faced, I think Leo was the best at it, staying shallow and doing their technically sound thing as well. But I think our defense, the big thing was technicality, just learning those little things, doing them to the T, to the point, and keeping it just silent and sound and keeping it going good. So.
Well, I tell you what, you've seen, now being your senior year here, you've seen so many games. You've been part of so much action at DeKalb. You've had an incredible season this year, last year. Folks are going to remember you. What do you want folks to remember about you and your performances? But now we've got at least one more game, if not more, going forward.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
And obviously we wish you well in that as far as you go. But what have been the big moments? What are you going to remember most about the moments that you had at DeKalb?
The coaching staff and just the feeling of playing football with my friends and my teammates, my family. It's been electrifying. The past 2 years playing varsity, it's been awesome. I don't care if it was a winning, losing season. It's just the fact that I get to play the sport I love every day with the people that I love every day, and it's the feeling of going out on that field. I'll miss it. I really will. And I want everybody to remember about me, really, that I'm there for the team. I'm not there for myself. I bring in people every day to do something, make themselves better. I don't like doing things just to make myself better. I mean, I will in the process, but the big thing is making them better to have that legacy keep going on, so then that when they see that I'm helping them, they'll help somebody else. That's the big thing on this team, and that's the big thing that'll make this team successful years after I'm gone. Many years when I'm watching, being old, having kids, stuff like that.
Coming back to the games.
Yeah. I just want everybody to remember that it's not a single-person sport. It's a 12-man. It's a 52-man sport. It's how many ever people are on the team, and that's just how it is. It's the leadership that comes with that team that makes that team good, and the people that put in effort. really.
Well, and we've got a lot of listeners today, and many of them are up and coming. They're in middle school, they're in
Yeah.
the rocket programs, they're learning. They look up to you as a role model. What do you want to tell them that they need to do to be encouraged to continue in their efforts to become the future of DeKalb?
Keep playing. Really, that's the big thing. The big key. When I was playing football growing up, the big thing that everybody was doing is they gave up. They didn't like it. They're like, oh, we're running too much. I'm not playing this anymore. And the thing is, if you have the heart and the soul that you want to play this game, you'll keep playing it. And everybody knows that. And once you show everybody that you have the heart and soul, they won't forget it. And that's the big thing, is that when you are 8th grade, 7th grade, and you're wanting to quit, just know you get a new chance in high school when you keep going. And the next grade, it's just another chance to make yourself better and make yourself become more susceptible to learning and becoming the better player that you want to be. And really, I just want them to know that just don't give up. It's the big things that matter, and football is a huge thing in people's lives. It really changes people's lives, and I think football, not only football, but all sports, you just got to stick with them. That's the big key, and people don't do that as much these days, and it's disappointing, but that's what we're trying to teach kids. Keep going.
Absolutely. Well, is there any question that I haven't asked you on the show today that you'd like to be able to share with our listeners and viewers today?
No, not really. You've kind of gone over everything.
Well, I tell you what, that's something that is so wonderful. Lucas, rockin' and roller right here on the show this day. It's such a pleasure to have you here on the show. Best of luck coming up this week.
Thank you.
And hang with us here for a little bit, and we'll get to our next guest. But first, we're going to talk to Coach Seth Wilcox. And Coach Wilcox, it's a pleasure to have you here on the show today.
It's good to be on.
Well, if you could let our listeners know a little bit about you and your credentials as far as football, how you got here to DeKalb, and what you're doing for us today.
All right. Well, to start off, I graduated from DeKalb back in 2007. I played tight end 1 year in college, transferred and played wide receiver for a couple years up at Trine University. And then after that, I got into coaching over at Eastside. Spent 8 years coaching over there, and made the switch last year to come back home and coach at DeKalb.
Well, it's fantastic to have you back here at home. As an alumni, you saw last night's game. What can you tell us about that classic matchup between Leo and DeKalb, and how great was that performance last night?
It was fun to be a part of. Disappointed in the results. That was a game that we never had when I was in school. It's become a good rivalry. I think to make it a rivalry, you got to get a win. And hopefully next year we can get that win and start a rivalry with Leo for sure.
All right. Well, Coach Wilcox, I got to ask you as well. That's something that, for what you end up doing on the team right now, can you let our listeners know what you focus on coaching and who you're working with specifically, and who's included in that squad?
Okay, so I'm the defense coordinator.
Okay.
So that kind of falls under my umbrella, but more specifically, I'm the safeties coach. So I coach up Aiden and. We've kind of had a mix at that other freak spot. So, coach safeties and help out with the wide receivers when I can.
Now, working on defense this year, one of the things that we've seen is this team is so strong defensively. Great young men represented here at DeKalb. Yeah. What can you tell us about gentlemen like Lucas Roller here and some of the other folks on defense that can really let our listeners know about how special this group is?
This group of defense players, they make coaching easy.
Yes,
because they fly around and they bring the heart and the attitude that makes the scheme work. They have a motor that keeps going. They've really gelled together, especially the last half of this season, as one unit and one goal. We've kind of played all season under the motto of trust, commitment, and love, and I think the last half of the season, the defense has really gotten behind that. It's awesome when I get the defense around after a series, and I hear them congratulating each other on big plays, and the guy who made the big play saying, hey, I wouldn't have made that play without you doing your job too. And I think they've really gotten the scheme, and they've gotten the team part of playing great defense.
Well, and you ended up hearing from Lucas and all the great things he had to say about this program, and that's something I can only echo his comments as well. He does such a great job of being a spokesman here for our program, and really for all the youth that look up to him as far as a role model.
Yeah.
We've got some other fine young men that you work with as well. Can you let us know about some of the highlights that you've seen this season, some of the growth that you've seen in those individuals?
Yeah, I think first off, it starts with leadership on the defense, and I think Miller really established himself last year as a leader. Coming out as a sophomore, he was a guy that people looked up to. He got voted Defensive Player of the Year last year by his teammates as a sophomore. So that's he was coming into the season as a leader for sure. Aiden Friedel has really stepped up as a leader. Most of the time, I don't even call what the secondary coverage is. Aiden's out there calling secondary over based on what I call in the box. So he's kind of the coach out on the field. Dom has really stepped up as a sophomore, and his knowledge of the game has so much more advanced from week 1 to today. I mean, it's all over the place. Roller, TML, the bookends on that D-line doing crazy stuff. And I could talk about everybody.
Well, absolutely, and I think that's one of the most wonderful compliments that you have as far as a coach is to know that you're surrounded by these great individuals and really executing out there. And I think and one of our listeners out there, Fred Price, ended up saying, "Hey, defense looked prepared." Talking about last night's game, and I think that's really what this is about. As a coach, and you focus in on these things, the preparation that goes into this. We've got big preparation going into the sectional game this week against East Noble. Where's our focus going to be?
Well, we kind of know what they do. We've played them. They're a pretty familiar opponent. So what it's really going to come down to is the coaches getting in film, which we've been doing that all morning, getting a game plan around, and then relaying that game plan so it's understandable to the defensive guys. And then throughout the season, we've had the defensive guys filling out scouting reports. So they on the weekends, they're grading themselves from the night before, and they're looking at the next opponent and filling out a quick scouting report so they have a good idea of what they're going to see. And then throughout the week, we kind of Mondays are very basic defensively. We're going over how we're going to align to formations, and then we step it up on Tuesday where they're lining up on their own. They're kind of getting their reads and stuff. Wednesday we throw everything at them. We're calling our blitzes and everything. On top of it, the coverages, putting defense in bad situations, seeing how they react to it. And then Thursday it's a mental preparation, and we're normally ready to go. But these guys defensively have been great at being in film and knowing and being prepared themselves. It's not just the coaches telling them what they need to do. There's a lot of times they're bringing ideas to our defensive meetings and saying, hey, this is what they're trying to do. Could we do this? And most of the time it's good. It's good stuff.
Fantastic. Well, I got to ask you as well, any thoughts and shout-outs that you have to our listeners and viewers today and all of our fans?
No, just want to give a shout-out to my wife and 2 girls, Harper and Addie. Addie has a soccer game starting right about now, so I need to head back over there and cheer her on this morning.
Fantastic. Well, it's a pleasure having you here on the show this morning, Coach Wilcox. Pleasure to have you with us throughout this season. And I'm going to turn it back over to Lucas Roller just momentarily. And Lucas, I got to ask you as well. As a senior, you get to end up getting a chance here. I'm going to put you on the spot and give a grade to Coach Wilcox on his efforts this year.
Oh, come on. I can't do that. That's not fair.
I promise you, you'd have fun today.
He gets 100 out of 10 right there. He's
right.
He's amazing. He's we call him Dad. That's he's Dad over here. He's a great coach. He always talks everything out to us. He's always teaching us, always making us learn. And if we're not learning, if we're mad, he'll calm us down, get us to the learning point. And it's made our defense 100% better. It's been a better season this year. I think that he knows us a little bit better. He's gotten us farther with knowing what we know how to do better, what we know we can't do as well, and we work on that to become a better defense together. So, yeah, he's just a great defensive coach all around, that's for sure.
Fantastic. Well, we didn't have a chance to end up asking you, but, hey, it's time for you to end up giving those shout-outs to all those people that are your supporters and the folks that helped you along in your career. Who would you like to recognize on today's program?
Well, I got my mom, Becky, and then my dad, Brad, And then I got my sister, Mariah. I got my grandma and grandpa, my other grandma and grandpa, Miller and Roller. Uh, all the student section that came out last night. Honestly, it was stunning. I just want to give a shout out to all of them because that was amazing for being how cold it was and how wet and windy. I would not have gone out there. I was forced into it. But all of that, it was amazing, and I really look forward to the sport next weekend against or next week against East Noble at home. I think it'll be electrifying and stunning how many people come out. So I just give a shout out to the whole student section that was there last night and that just support the team. Shout out to the whole community, honestly. The community this year has been stunning with how much they've supported us and been behind us. We haven't had that in the past years when I've been here. Everybody's against us, and that's just how we always feel, and that's how it always is usually. And this year I think it's been different with that. And yeah, I just give a shout out to the rest of my family that I forgot. So sorry about that if I did. Yeah, it's amazing.
Well, I got to tell you, that's something that the community support has been overwhelming, and that's something that they are very much behind you guys out there. And I tell you what, the heart of it, I got to experience last night, and it's a lot of fun. I love being up there in the stands and getting a chance to meet with folks. And best to you guys again coming up this week. Thanks so much for all your efforts and all you do here at DeKalb. We're going to switch out and allow a few more guests to come here on the show with us right now. And folks, this is a great time to end up really looking forward as far as next week's game. When we take a look at it, this is a great opportunity to come out and do some tailgating. There's going to be an awful lot of excitement in the community. I mean, sectional action really is so much fun as far as a highlight, and it's a great time for us to really focus in on our community, what we do differently, and how we represent ourselves. And, you know, we've got some more representatives here of the team that we'd love to speak with, and of course we've got Jerry McNamara as well as Landon the Thriller Miller, and that's something that I think we'll start with Jerry McNamara as far as our interviews as they continue. And Jerry, now this is the first time for you on the show, is it not?
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to have you here on the show today. If you could you let our listeners know a little bit about, you know, your experience so far as a junior, your playing career and the different positions you've played, and what you're doing right now at DeKalb?
Well, freshman year I played a little bit of O-line, but I was primarily D-line. Last year I played JV D-line, and then this year I started varsity at the beginning of the season, and then I'm ending off playing D-line. The past few years it's been pretty good. Like, it's been really, really fun, especially this year, like with our defense coming together and all that. It's been a lot of fun playing D-line with these guys that we're around every day.
Well, and you've had experience, as you said, both D-line and O-line. Is there one that you prefer more than the other?
I really like playing D-line.
Yeah,
Just like not really having like an assignment. Well, I mean, you do, but you don't have a specific person you got to go block. You can just go crazy.
Well, it was a real grudge match last night, and it has been. There's been a lot of them throughout this season. Has there been a key moment that sticks out to you, a play that just says, man, this made me so proud to be a Baron?
Yeah, it was a Garrett game. I believe second quarter, Garrett ran a screen, and I was out in the flats for some reason. I don't know. I just kind of dropped back, ended up catching it and getting a pick.
So, now, I gotta ask you, how many picks have you had in your career?
Well, that was the first one.
That was the first one. That's
yeah.
right. Now, there's more to come, obviously, with that opportunity. But when you were in that moment, can you tell us how excited you were and what it felt like to hear that crowd support you?
I was in shock because, like, usually you don't see a big guy catching a football and running it down the field, especially on defense.
Well, now that's something that you gotta look forward and say not only a pick, but we need to have a pick six behind your name.
Yeah.
So we're going to set that goal for you if you haven't already, because that's one of them. I'd love to see that happen.
Oh yeah, for sure. It was like looking back at the film, I saw like the whole left side of the field was open, and I just ended up running at that one guy, and I was so focused on getting the ball and getting that few extra yards instead of looking forward towards the end zone.
Well, and on D-line, I got to ask you as well. Obviously, you guys have a great squad. You've got a great brotherhood going on for the overall team. Many times you guys end up being the unsung hero, and you don't necessarily always take that ball across the line like the O-line gets a chance to do, or different offensive players. However, everything you guys have been doing has established that credential to allow us to get to those wins. And how good does it feel when you come away from the game knowing that you were successful and brought that win and had that effort?
It feels really, really good knowing that our defense does their job and puts the offense in that good ball position, whether we end up punching it in or not. We usually do a really good job on putting them in a good position.
Well, in addition to that, that's something that we've had some great moments, and I tell you that was so fun to end up having that Gary game earlier this season and coming away with the win there at home, and huge environment, and obviously that builds for the environment that we have coming up for sectionals. What do you want to see? What do you want to see accomplished out there by the D line up against this rematch of East Noble this week?
I just want to see us do our jobs and play nasty, play really, really aggressive, and just overall play really well like we have been all season. Our whole defense has just been tearing it up this season, and we just really just got to continue it out.
Well, obviously that's something that the nickname that they end up having for you on the team, of course, is the little doughboy.
Yeah.
But that's something that I got to tell you, you don't play like that out there. That's something that you guys play so hard and so physical. And last night's game was real evidence of that. You guys at one point we had them pinned all the way down inside the one. And what's it like in an environment like that when we have having a great kick from Evan and puts that ball all the way there where the pressure's back on their offense and our D line comes out? Does that pump you guys up a little bit more?
Oh yeah, like we ended up running a little formation where we put our our middle D lineman on the center, on the shoulder of the center, and then we have our ends in their regular position. And I think that really put us in a good position to stop the run there. And when they realized that they couldn't run the ball, they got really scared. Like they didn't know what to do. They couldn't pass because it was so wet last night. And it feels good having that momentum from the offense and from Snyder's kick to be able to put us in that position to where we can either stop them right there or even get a safety.
Well, and with this team that we end up having, with this D-line, who is probably the person that you look up to the most on the D-line squad?
Definitely Roller.
Yeah.
Definitely Lucas.
And he ended up having a chance to talk with his passion about this game. How much of that goes on to the rest of the teammates?
It really spreads out through not just Lucas but Friedel and Stout and all them. It really spreads out through our younger guys, our juniors and sophomores. It really it's that electric feeling that goes between all of us, and it always gets us pumped. Pregame, it's always so aggressive and we get so hyped up to the point where we're always jumping around and we're ready to go out on the field, whether we go out first or the offense goes out first.
Well, and when you get that level of excitement and when you know that you have all the skills out there and the fundamentals to be able to perform, what do you want folks to know about your level of play and what you're doing out there on the field?
My main job out there is just to eat up guys on the D-line and keep our linebackers free. That's because I'm so big. And that's my main job out there is to
and
take
you're
up
getting it done. And how much fun is it for you to be able to play in that kind of environment that really highlights your personal unique skills and abilities?
I love it. I love taking 2-3 guys on me every time just to be able to see our ends, our linebackers to go and absolutely destroy, whether it be the running back or the quarterback.
And what do you want folks to know about you and the heart of a player that you have and your legacy as a player here at DeKalb?
Just keep pushing yourself. Just keep on trucking along. Keep on doing your job, whether it be hard or easy. You just got to keep pushing.
Well, and that's something that we'll return to you in a little bit. Just be thinking about some shout-outs here on the show for our viewers and listeners. But that's something that I want to ask a little bit about this young man next to you. We end up having Landon Miller with us as well today, and that's something. Can you tell us, Jerry, a little bit about Landon and your feelings about Landon?
Landon, ever since 8th grade, him and Tyler Pomeroy are the ones that got me into playing football in my 7th grade year, going in and doing weights and stuff like that. Him and Pomeroy have been a real big influence on me and just pushing me to do the very best that I can do, whether it be during practice while we're doing plays or whether it be conditioning after practice. They've always been there to push me and just make me do my very best that I can do.
Fantastic. Well, stay right here. We're going to come back to you in a little bit, but we'll go on and talk to our next guest as well. And that's needs no introduction, actually. Number 10, Landon the Thriller Miller. And Landon, boy, I tell you what, you are really having a great year this year. You had some great moments last year as well. There's been a lot of fun. There was a lot of exciting moments in last night's game as well. Can you tell us a little bit about last night's environment and some of the plays that you felt where you really were able to add and contribute to the team?
Last night's environment was really electrifying. I really felt the weather, actually made it really fun to play in. Everybody was excited. Just rain made it more towards us, a more ground pound team. Defensively made it really sloppy, made it real fun to play with, which we've been practicing all week, having so much fun. And just defense, I think, was better since it was all rainy. Everybody came together, everybody was having fun, which made it really exciting to play in.
Well, and last night's effort was great throughout the entire matchup. That was something that we knew this was going to be a tight game. We knew it was going to be tough. And you have a chance to end up playing on both sides, both offense and defense at different moments. And so as you end up doing that, one of the things I have to ask you is, obviously, which one do you get more excited? Is there one that you get more excited about, or is there one that you like more than the other?
I like both sides of the ball a lot, but I definitely think defense has been a lot more fun this year. Just the defense flying around, making plays, just going out every single drive, giving a high five to every single one of my defensive teammates. It's fun to play with all the guys you love and play with. It's a lot of fun on defense.
Well, and one of the things that Jerry was able to share with us is you were able to inspire him and help him along a few years back to keep him with the squad, and how important of a decision that was. And we're so glad that you did that and he decided that, because you guys, I can already feel that brotherhood is there, the friendship is there, but at the same time, what does it mean for you to end up knowing that you can help to have that kind of an influence on a team and bring the right people in the right places? And what can you tell us about Jerry?
Well, Jarrett in 7th grade, he was bigger than he is now. It's he couldn't run 20 yards without throwing up, and he just wanted to quit. He was so down on himself, and I felt so bad for him. I really took him in my little brother, and worked him hard, got him through football, and really he wanted to quit. I got him through playing, and now here's where he is,
a
good
defensive
football
superstar.
Player. Yeah, good football player here, and I just love him for that, and glad you stayed with it.
Well, when we end up having these great moments like that, and you see a big pick like the moment he had at Garrett, how proud are you of Jerry and his efforts out there on the squad?
Oh, that play was so funny. He wasn't supposed to do that at all. He was telling me that whole week, he's like, I'm going to get picked on that screen. I'm going to get picked. I'm like, Jarrett, you're not supposed to drop back in coverage. I just turn, I see him dropping back 5 yards. He's like, I'm getting it. I see him grab it. And it was a big man catching the ball, what you would expect. It's the most unathletic thing in the world, bobbing the ball, and then you see him stumbling over and trying to get extra yards. You can see him wanting that touchdown so bad in his eyes. It's so funny.
That is so awesome, and that was something, Jerry, obviously that had to have been so much fun for you in that moment, and to make that call. Was there a premonition? Obviously you had some form of a premonition, a vision of what was going to happen beforehand.
Well, all week at practice, we ran that play quite a bit. We ran that screen against, with our scout-o against our defense. We ran that play a lot. And I think during practice, I ended up getting 3 picks that whole week.
Wow.
And I was just ready to go out and get it. I saw it in my head. I was like, I'm getting a pick tonight.
That is so awesome. And, I think that's one of the things that makes this so much fun and so much excitement is the unpredictability, the fatalistic sense of the game. And you have to go out there and play it. You never know what's going to necessarily happen. It's just what you do with that moment. And,
exactly.
And when you have that moment, that's something that, boy, I tell you what, that's the type of thing that lives in the minds of, really in a way of infamy, that everybody always remembers you with that great play that you end up having. Landon, you've had an awful lot of these moments as well. Is there a moment that stuck out to you so far, this great play that you've had an awful lot of different opportunities? Is there anything that sticks out to you that just says, boy, this was the moment that I just really enjoyed so far this year?
I don't really have a moment I enjoyed, but I remember the Garrett game. I had a pretty good game, and I had 4 touchdowns, but I remember dropping an interception, which probably could have been a pick 6, and I just remember everybody yelling at me, why didn't you catch it? Why didn't you catch it? I'm like, okay, well, I've had a pretty good game. I don't know why you're saying that. And my boss after that game, he came up to me. I came up to him because he went to the game, and he gave me a bag of popcorn. He's like, now you have an excuse. I'm like, what does that mean? He's like, Yeah, like popcorn hands. You just slippery hands. That's your excuse now. Like, oh, thanks, man.
Well, we've got this big game coming up against East Noble, this rematch. What do you want to see and what do you want to do as far as preparation this week, end up putting us in the best situation for this game coming up on Friday?
Oh yeah. Well, this week is fall break, so we don't have school, and everybody just got to keep their minds on like straight and not do anything stupid. So we got like a big week ahead of us, preparation wise, and just not do anything stupid when we don't have school, and just really prepare correctly and make sure we're ready for Friday because it's going to be a good game.
Well, it's interesting because as we sit back and take a look at this, we've had great interviews, we've had great participation here on the Coaches Show throughout this year. You've been able to be on here prior. It's so great to look at this season and have you back on the program here today. What do you want our fans and listeners to know about you and your style of play here on the show today?
I feel like just a leadership to the team. I feel like my leadership role this year has really taken a big step since last year. I was just a sophomore last year. I wasn't like that much of a leader, but this year I feel like I've really taken the defense in and being the leader of that team, of that side of the ball, and just really making the defense really good. Defense.
That's right. Well, and as we look forward to this week, any shout-outs that you have to our listeners?
I just want to shout out to my parents. They got me to where I am. I want to give a big shout out to Coach Friedel. He really got me into wrestling, which really helped me because back in 6th grade I was some fat little ball, and I wouldn't be where I was without him and pushing me through to get to where I am right now.
Are there any other wrestlers that we interviewed today that you want to put a shout out to?
Well, both these guys are wrestlers.
That's right.
So both of them, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, I tell you what, it's a pleasure having you here on the show. And Jerry, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Any final thoughts and shout-outs to have to our viewers and listeners today?
Shout out to my mom, Steph, my dad, Dean, my little brother, Blaine. He's taken a big step this year, and this is his first year playing football. He actually ended up being the ball boy for us this season. Shout out to my uncle. He's always been there behind my back to push me to be the best man I can really be. He's taught me a lot of life lessons. And shout out to my grandpa. They moved down to Florida last year, so he couldn't really be up here for a lot of the games. But, yeah, shout out to my grandma and grandpa and all them down in Florida.
Well, I tell you what, it is a pleasure having both you young gentlemen here on the show today. It really is an honor. We look forward to the great success you have coming up this week as far as sectionals with your play and throughout the rest of this postseason, and looking forward to future years here as DeKalb Barons. Pleasure having you on the show. We look forward to having more highlights and having you guys back on the show. So make sure to keep sharp and be ready for more of those great shout-outs.
Oh, we will.
All right, now we end up having, are we going to have Coach Kemp rejoin us again with Coach Samuelson? All right, and folks, that's something that just a few more guests here on the show today with us, and that way we can end up getting you some more information about what we have, as we get settled back here into the program. And we're joined with Coach Kemp once again here on the program, along with Coach J.B. Samuelson. That's J.B.I.G. King Samuelson, correct?
You betcha.
Yeah. Coach Samuelson, it's a pleasure having you here on the show today. And you have been such a huge supporter and fan of the DeKalb Barons for many years and been part of the coaching staff. Can you let our listeners know a little bit more about your experience, your background, and pretty much how long you've been with the Barons and what you're specializing on this year?
Well, I started in 93. A group of guys and I scouted for Coach Cook.
Okay.
Had a few good years there where we scouted probably 6 or 7 years, and then the digital age came in and didn't need to scout anymore, and I was asked to coach freshmen. So I actually got to coach this guy as a freshman in high school, and we had a couple good years there. I coached with Tom Blackburn, and then when Jim Hummer came, we had Ron Fricky for a couple years as a defensive coordinator, and when he got the Garrett job, Jim asked me to be the DC for DeKalb, and I was able to do it, balance work and home, and do that, and I've been on the staff ever since.
Well, and that is a huge sacrifice in time and commitment to this program, and there's got to be a huge payoff that you end up having as far as reciprocal that you get from the enjoyment of coaching. What is that for you?
I think being able to walk into Walmart or walk into Kroger or any store in town and see a past player and have them shake your hand and catching up with them on where their life's at now and how they are, their family and that kind of thing is probably the most satisfying.
Well, and it's got to be very gratifying to know that you've added to a quality of the community and that you've helped to form the minds of these individuals when they're players so that they are an active part of our community moving forward as well.
Yeah, each of them to a man is, and even there's a lot of girls managers that we've had that.
And I want to highlight a little bit about that too. There's a real special one that's a manager this
Yep.
season on the program and has been for a few.
There's one that I like more than the others. Yes.
And you want to put a shout out?
Shout out to my daughter Emily.
And I have to echo that comment
Yep.
as well.
And to Morgan and Katie.
That's right. We got to make sure to include all
Yeah.
of them. But that's I
Yep.
wanted to make sure we get that highlighted
Yep.
there. And at the same time, I want to put a shout out to a young man who is near and dear to my heart, and that's Sammy. How's
Yep.
Sammy doing?
Sammy's doing great. He's at Ball State. He's only got he had a one grade that we were worried about after 4 weeks there. So, based on my freshman year in college, I'm pretty happy with that.
Fantastic. And,
You're saying my kids are doomed? Yeah. Using that just in case.
all you want is for your kids to have a better freshman year in college. Than
Oh,
you
I
had
hope so.
Grade wise, yeah.
well, with as many years as you've been here, we've had an awful lot of special moments from one year to the next. What can you say sticks out to you as just really something that highlights and really identifies with this squad this year?
I think really coming together as a group, and it had been real easy last night to have people start pointing fingers and saying things, just things you hear on the sideline, and that doesn't happen with this group. That it just plain doesn't happen. Everybody they lift each other up more than anything.
Well, and that you end up having that opportunity to help culture that in the form of leadership and really bring that organization and help with that overall performance and organization. What do you want folks to know about you as a coach and what you want to bring in leadership to these young men?
I see the industrial side of what kids are today and what kids are being put into the workforce. I try to guide kids. I ask them how school was today. I try to guide them to that school side and make sure that they're doing what they need to do to finish their lives, not today.
Right.
And there's a big drop off with the kids you see interviewing for jobs today that we can fill that gap
And when
with
you,
attitude.
And when you come in and coach every day, all the years that you have, what do you want folks to know about your legacy as a coach here at DeKalb?
Oh, I just never stopped working. It could be a 60-point loss. It could be a 30-point win. We're going to come in and do the same thing on Saturday morning, and we're going to get prepared for a plan on Monday.
Well, and that's I have always recognized your community support and your support of all these programs, and that's something that I got to thank you for everything that you've always done.
Thank you.
Been a huge support here in the community to all of our young athletes, and specifically here, of course, with football during our football season. But it really is an honor to have you here on the show today.
Thank you.
Hey, basically, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you want to share with our viewers and listeners today on the show?
That I love my wife very much, and I'd like to give her a shout out as well.
Fantastic. Any other shout outs for our viewers and listeners today?
Just if Sammy, we gave Sammy one, and the O-line, man, we got to chug. We got one more week to show what we can do, and that can spawn into other weeks.
Well, and is there anybody, any particular couple of kids that you want to end up shouting out on that line for their great efforts? No,
there's 8 of them. There are 8 of them with us every day.
They do a wonderful job, too.
Including the tight ends. I mean, those guys get after it as well.
Well, and that's something that they have been so phenomenal. Their performance this year has allowed for the opportunities to happen for our running core, for our passing core, and we just commend you on everything you do with that group.
Thank you.
Great job, JB.
Thanks.
And Coach Kempf, of course, we're back to you, and I want to end up basically trying to find out anything else that you can share with us about JB as well, working with him as a coach. Former player and now coach, and you have this chance to have JB with you.
We have. Well, first off, I always have the utmost respect for Division III football players, especially Division III football players that play at all male colleges.
Yes.
Of course, his college was a quitter. I think it was at 98, 99.
Yeah,
somewhere in there. And Wabash is staying strong, and obviously Rose-Hulman is an unbelievable institution. And obviously, if you're lucky enough to go there and graduate, you're going to have a successful life. It's kind of funny, just coming back here. I remember just. Whether I was coaching another place, I'd always see these guys coaching back here and always talk. And I want to say we were close, but there was always that bond, and just kind of from that. And then obviously, if you would have told me that JB Samuelson would have been one of my best friends, at the age of 35 when I was a freshman in high school. And JB's told me what he really thought of me back then too. I don't know. Well, you probably remember the record, don't you?
5-3.
Were we 5-3?
We were 5-3. Yeah.
Bad
Wow.
football.
Well, we lost to Carroll.
No,
We would have been 6-2.
yeah,
We should have beat Carroll.
Select words. So it just the family culture that we have, having Coach Slemmer on staff is so hugely important for me because he was, my coach as well, and seeing Coach Cocky out and about, and seeing Coach Mikowski, who's at Peru now, but whether it's at a clinic and just sitting and talking to him, and you have those relationships with coaches that kind of shape who you are, and a big one for me was outside of high school was Coach Neil Nethery, who's now the defensive coordinator up at Eastern Michigan with Coach Creighton, and I'm lucky enough to go up there once a year and to see those guys, and it's always kind of weird talking to them. And it took me a while to coach called JB, who's always Coach Sam, and and you have those relationships as soon as you kind of get beyond that, and I'm just very thankful just to have those guys that those DeKalb guys in particular around me that help make this program successful, because as a head coach, the only thing you really can do is set the tone and expectations. The most important people in any group are the people that are what you call like the second tier,
Right?
Like a coach, Coach Wilcox, Coach Gaff, Coach Sam, Coach Dixon, all those guys, Coach Schlemmer. Those are the ones that execute the beliefs and the system and preach it farther down. As a head coach, you kind of lose out on relationships on occasion because of being the head coach,
right?
Because oftentimes you have to be sometimes you have to be the enforcer, and that is what it is, and that just comes with the role. But the guys that the most important coaches in any program are the assistants, and they're the ones that people buy into, build the most important relationships with, and they're the ones that make the program exceptional. And that's why having coaches in the building are so important. Having assistant coaches around the kids all day is so important, because there's so many kids that have so many different needs. And you look at our roster top to bottom, there's so many different young men that have forged relationships with different guys. Like, Coach Wilcox has a group of guys that he's really tight with. Coach Friedel's the same way. Coach Sam's the same way. Coach Dixon's the same way. I'm the same way. We all have our own little groups that we've built really tight relationships with. And that's what a young man needs to be successful. You can't convince me any different. If it weren't for a small group of guys that were in my life growing up, I can't tell you where I've been. And that's hugely important, especially in a day and age where fathers have become, it seems like they haven't become a necessity.
Right.
And that's why those male relationships have become so important, and a sport like football can offer those to the young men who wish to pursue it.
Well, and it's kind of interesting that you end up saying that. We wanted to put a big shout out, of course, today to a former DeKalb Baron running back, Denton Gamble, and we want to congratulate him on his service in the U.S. Army as well as his recent nuptials. He's out there in Colorado, and we wish him the best of success as he moves forward, both in his career and with his marriage. And that's something that you've had a chance to coach young individuals like this, and we always want to honor those folks that are moving on and doing these great things after high school. And I think that's so much about what this is about.
Yeah, it really is. Absolutely. And obviously, Fred's on here. D3 shout out from Aurora, Illinois, from the Hughes and the Prices. You got guys that are playing football on the next level, like Zach Frayne. I don't know if he's still playing. Last I knew, he was still playing up at Tryon as a kicker. He didn't play until his senior year.
Right.
But now he's a collegiate college football. He's a college football player.
That's right.
You got Colin up there. We sent we had a handful of guys to Tryon, a couple handful to Manchester. We sent a kid. Troy Walters went to Indianapolis.
We got somebody down at St. Francis. Who is that kid?
We don't.
Who is that kid?
We should. Voldemort.
He's really tall.
He's really tall, and he calls me all the time. I think
Tall and goofy.
Yeah, Will obviously has a game today, and we root them. He had a big game against Marion too, like 4 or 5 catches, a touchdown. Noticing he's going to play a multi-sport athlete in college. It's so cool. I mean, we're just been lucky to have such a handful, just a handful of kids that have made this school so special. And we could talk about that a long time, but we've also sent a lot of kids been a part of seeing kids go off to the military. Not that we make that choice or send them there. We've seen those kids like Lucas Adams, Denton Gamble. I know there's more. I have them all written down.
I'll put a shout out to Dylan Cagle, of course, out there in the Marines. And
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, we just, again, we're lucky to be in the position we are. Very fortunate to be surrounded by so many people that support us, especially when there are always going to be a group of people who will forever and always root for our failure. And that's what makes our tight group, that much more important.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we've got a big week coming up this week, preparation before East Noble. Anything you want our fans and listeners to know about the game coming up, and some final shout-outs as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, we have big news. We did get approved for BTV educational packaging.
Fantastic.
So we are going to be able, because the cost would have been $350 for us to broadcast the game, but working with the ICAA, because we are a school institution, we're going to be able to broadcast the game for free. So we'll be online Friday night on YCN.
That's
but
correct.
You know what? As much as I hope if you can't make it to the game to watch it on YCN, come out to the field. We need to light off that cannon. We need to set the tone, and it better be the loudest dadgum stands we've had since probably 2007 or
That's right.
2002 or 1. It's time. It's time. And you know what? Win, lose, or draw, we're going to play our freaking hearts out. We're going to freaking bring the wood, and it's time that we do something special.
And we're going to have a lot of fun out there. I'm telling you what, I'm
Damn
so
straight.
hyped. As soon as they had that announcement, and we knew that we were going to host this one, I'll tell you what, the excitement welled up in me like nothing else, and I am so ready for this game. And, Coach, I got to tell you what, I wish you the best this week moving forward, and you and all the coaches and all the players as you prepare, keeping the kids focused, as the different interviewees today end up mentioning is a big part already on their minds. It sounds like you don't have to preach that or tell that. They are already saying that themselves.
Well, when you're at DeKalb and you have the awesome Fair Week,
yeah.
Obviously we've talked about that before. I love the FFA and what they do, and a lot of our kids make money, and they make a large sum of money, and those are the lives they live forever through ag, and it's important to us. It's important to our school and important to our community. Our FFA program is awesome.
Exactly.
And that 4-H fair is awesome, but the carnival that comes with it, the good and bad parts of it, nothing. Obviously there's some people that thoroughly enjoy it. For us, it's just a major distraction, and we overcame this year again on that night. So these guys, and then you have what else was it? It was the fair, and then you have homecoming, ACD Museum. We have so many awesome community events that can detract from our boys focusing on what they have to do to accomplish their goals, and that all goes into life lessons that Luke talks about.
Right.
And these guys are guys that have heard it now for 4 years. They know the message. They know what it takes to win, and that's what we're talking about, learning to win. They know what it takes. You want to beat a good opponent. You want to be king of the castle. You got to go take it. And we haven't taken it yet, and we're going to do our damnedest on Friday night to do so.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, and we want to congratulate you and all the coaches on a winning season so far here as we finish out the regular season.
Absolutely.
And
Thank you.
moving forward in sectionals. Guys, I got to tell you, this is a new team, and it has been for about 5 weeks. And we are excited to see how the boys perform coming up this week. And I don't know if you're going to figure this out or not, but probably the most excited guy in the whole stands is going to be me. So the biggest thing is going to be containing me. So they're going to have to probably sedate me before the game, and it's still going to be a level of excitement you haven't seen before.
It's going to be awesome to be a part of it.
Well, I tell you what, Coach, any other shout-outs that you have for our viewers today?
I'll take 2 minutes, then we'll get them off here. We're only going to be about 10 minutes after. But, right off the bat, DeKalb football is where it is now because a community got together and said, we're tired of DeKalb football not being where it should be. And without that community involvement, we wouldn't be here. It takes a whole group. And, and right now there are some other sports at DeKalb High School that need that assistance and help. So, I'm proud to say that Mrs. Kempf and I are now going to be Little League DCBB youth girls basketball coaches.
Fantastic.
And obviously our girls youth programs aren't where they need to be, but, we call out for these youth girls basketball coaches, and only 4 people signed up.
Wow.
So the big thing and the message to believe in as a community, we have a lot of people that complain. But guess what? It's not going to improve if you're part of the solution.
That's right.
So if you're listening or you don't know the message, come be a part of the solution. Don't be part of the problem.
That's
and
right.
You could choose either one. And I'm here to tell you that if you're going to be part of the problem, you better get out of our way. Because we are moving forward in positivity. We're moving forward together as a Barron football family, as a DeKalb Central family, and we are ready to rock. And
Absolutely.
you just better get your britches on because here it comes.
Fantastic.
And lastly, I already talked about my wife a little bit. She's at home, third trimester, rocking, cleaning the house for fall break, getting ready for baby Pete, who will be here hopefully not till after Thanksgiving. I don't know if we'll make it that far, but I'm just truly thankful for all these guys, like you got Fred, JB, Susie, Shane Hughes, you got the McNamara's that are always on this chat during our YouTube deal. I mean, it's just 5 years ago this wasn't possible.
Exactly.
And, and all the parents that have graduated, moved on, that have donated back to the program, the list is exponentially larger than I could even mention. Mrs. Kemp, thank you. I'll see you soon, and thanks for letting me take a nap this afternoon and not beating me for it. I'm getting kind of welled up right here, just about everything that we've done, and just how far we've come and what we've overcome as a family. And Joe, and you're part of it, absolutely.
Well, thank you.
I just,
I'm honored to be part of it.
Yeah, it's just an individual. Like a lot of people talk about the role of the head coach and what it is, and like I said, man, all I do is organize. Like if it weren't for the community, for the boosters, for guys like you, who choose to elect time, to devote time and part of their lives to DeKalb and making it a better place and not choosing the negative path is exceptional. And just glad to be a part of it.
Thank you. And I tell you what, Coach, that's one of them, that being surrounded by you and other coaches with that same feeling, that's why we do it. There's a brotherhood that extends beyond that and an importance much greater. And that's something that is honored to be part in your company. Thank you so much for doing all you do. So our community is much better because of it. And folks, of course, that's it for this week of DeKalb Barron Sports Talk here at Ben Davis Ford in Auburn. We want to thank you for joining us on today's broadcast and for tuning in. Make sure that you tune in again next week at 10:30. Make sure you're out there at the game, 7 o'clock, and get out there early. Do some tailgating and have some fun. Once again, this is Joe Snyder, your host and voice of the Barons, thanking you for watching here on Barron TV. And we want to put a big shout-out and thanks to all of the generosity from our program sponsors: Auburn Essential Services, DeKalb Health, Steel Dynamics Incorporated, Bull's Frozen Desserts, Smith Teas, Gibson's Heating and Plumbing, FC Tucker, Malcolm & Schluter Realtors, Kelly Southern State Farm, Albright's One-Stop Grocery and Supermarket in Corona, Jamel Flooring, the Ben Davis Auto Group, Brown & Brown Insurance, Classic City Body and Paint, Smith Farms Manor, Nixon Homes, Joyce Hefty Koval Insurance Agency, Betts Nursing Home, Beacon Credit Union, Metal Technologies, Mefford Weber & Blythe Attorneys at Law, Nucor Building Systems, Vision Source, Indiana Physical Therapy, Auburn Dental Associates, Taylor Rental, Best Deal Auto Sales, Bernadette Salon, The Forget Me Not Boutique, Big Red Sports, Jeremiah's, DeKalb Chiropractic, and Drive Right Academy. This is Joe Snyder, and as always, fans, don't stop until the whistle blows.